Hello and welcome back to episode 4 of The Comfort Zone. I can't believe we're already 4 episodes in.
It has actually flown. It's gone so quickly. But thank you so much for joining us again. We are so grateful to have built this little community and hopefully it's going to keep growing.
Yeah, it feels like our safe space. I know I say this a lot, but we are literally in the comfort zone. The way we talk about things so openly and so comfortably is just so refreshing.
I also feel like because of the way we film these episodes, we kind of forget that it's going to go out to as many people as want to listen to it. So
Yeah, we're in this small, tiny little room with our candles and our salt lamp and our blankets, and it just feels so cozy.
it's nice to just forget that anyone's listening because it's just a very honest and open chat. But
Yeah.
on that note, let's kick off this week with our wins and wobbles as always.
Who wants to go first?
That's what I was about to ask.
You should go first this time.
Okay.
Pressure's on.
First. Feeling pressure.
We're going to start with a win.
Yes.
Start on a good note.
Start on a good note, end on a wobble.
Yeah, but then we can elaborate on the wobble and turn it into something positive.
Yeah.
So
Put a positive spin on it. My win this week is that I was home alone for a few days. My parents went away and I stayed home looking after my little dog.
Aww.
And I was in the house all alone, like I was waking up in the house alone. And if you don't know me, or if you've never followed me before, or probably if you haven't followed me for a while even, I used to be absolutely terrified of being in the house alone. Like I could not make a single noise. I was constantly convinced that if I couldn't hear everything that was going on at all times, someone was going to break in, someone was going to do something, and I was just like literally never calm. Even like making a cup of tea, I couldn't have the kettle on because I was just so freaked out. And I was waking up into an empty house and going downstairs and sorting the dog out by myself and making myself a cup of tea and then going out by myself. And because I know the place I was in, that is just such a huge thing to me. Like it might sound very simple to a lot of people, but to me, to be able to just be independent and literally feel completely fine, like come downstairs, have music on and just know that I'm not in danger is just such a nice feeling. So yeah.
That's incredible. And the amount of growth that you can kind of acknowledge and just be proud of yourself for is amazing.
Thank you.
If only you a few years ago could see you now.
I always think that. I'm like, oh, I wish that I knew just how good things would get, or not even good, but just how easy they'd get, like by sticking at facing my anxieties and pushing myself out of my comfort zone. Things get better and things get easier. But anyway, what was your win this week?
My win this week was saying no and standing my ground. And as a bit of a people pleaser, that can feel really hard to actually put yourself first and realise the situations that you genuinely do not want to be in, and being confident enough, even if it feels scary and even if it can feel like you're quote unquote letting people down, which you're definitely not, because you have to put yourself first. That's like the whole point. But yeah, I said no to a few things this week and it felt really nice to just acknowledge my own feelings for once and not put someone else before me, and not in a selfish way, even though it's not a bad thing to be selfish in those situations. If you're going to be uncomfortable and if you know it's not something that you want to do, it's perfectly okay to say no.
I don't think it's selfish at all. I think it's just being an introvert and respecting your own boundaries. Like if you don't want to go out and do something you know it's going to make you feel worse,
then don't do it.
Yeah.
I like that. I like the word boundary. I need to respect my boundaries a lot more. And that's what I've done this week. So proud of myself for that.
But your wobble? Wait, no, that sounded really negative.
Actually,
like that's great.
That's not good.
But your wobble? No, but I know your wobble was similar
Yeah.
to that. Which, because we were talking about this before.
Guys, my wobble was also saying no. Because I can, what's the word, jeopardise myself sometimes. Is that the right word?
Yeah,
I
feel like that makes sense.
I can stay in my comfort zone a little bit too much, to the point where I can miss out on opportunities or limit my growth and my potential, because I am such an introvert and I am someone that would just rather stay at home in every single situation, no matter how good the situation is and no matter how much fun I will actually have. I honestly would much rather be in bed. Not in a rude way. I actually don't want to go out with you. I'd rather be in my bed. But no, not in a way like that. But I have said no. I tried to say no to something that would be really, really good for us, and thankfully you talked me out of it and you pushed me out of my comfort zone, Ro, and I'm very grateful for that.
I feel like sometimes it's about finding that balance between what is actually good for you to say no to and what is actually going to be good for you to do.
Yeah.
And I think you're in a place right now where it's like there's so many things that you kind of overwork yourself in certain ways, but you also are scared to step out of your comfort zone in other ways. So
Yeah.
when you're saying no to things, it's things that are genuinely going to be worse for your mental health. But then we get presented with opportunities, or not just we, but like you get presented with opportunities that would be really cool, and you know you probably would have a good time when you're there, but the idea of going and socialising and being with people, you would much rather just say no, which I literally get 100%. But I also do think that for your growth and for your just happiness, sometimes pushing yourself out of that kind of introvert comfort zone is good for you.
Yeah, and it is worth it. And when you step away from the situation after, it's that moment of, okay, I acknowledge that I was feeling a little bit uncomfortable around this, but I got through it, and that means that I can do it again. So the next time I'm presented with a situation where I'm in an R-ing about whether I should go, or whether I'm respecting my boundary, or whether that boundary is something that could be broken for a good reason, I know that I got through it the last time and I can get through it again. Yeah.
Yeah.
And what was your win?
I've had my win.
What was your wobble? I want to stay positive here.
Staying posy. My wobble this week is kind of a wobble that I'm still wobbling with. I'm still wobbling. I'm still wibbling and wobbling around.
Jelly on a plate.
I'm like jelly on a plate. I have been. Where did the H on that go? I have been worrying about my health, and I don't really get health anxiety, but I get anxious when I have genuine reason to be concerned, and that has been the only thing I've been able to think about. And I'm literally fine. I know I'm going to be fine, but I have a kind of scary appointment, and I also have a lot of medical anxiety, and I have an appointment in a couple days' time, which is really big and really scary, and I really don't want to do it. And it's just been the only thing I can think about. And I know that actually it's quite a natural thing to feel anxious about. Like I was sort of talking to my therapist the other day, and she was saying, like, you've been told your whole life that you're a very anxious person, so every time you feel anxiety you think that it's an unnatural form of anxiety, but actually in this situation it's very normal, very natural to be anxious about health issues or having a health scare. And so I'd say I've been trying really hard not to overthink it, not Googling things, not really overly worrying myself, but it's the only thing I can think about because I get so worried about like health issues and health scares and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that's been my wobble, just keeping it real. But I'm fine, and I will be fine.
You are. And it's very valid though. We just have to acknowledge that, like you said, it's a very normal thing to be anxious about, and there's no harm in being anxious. It just means that you care about yourself, which is amazing, I guess, if you put a spin on it like that. And I always like to tell you, as much as it's easier said than done, but to remember that there is a version of you that gets through this, and that gets through the appointment and gets over the big scary things, and that version of you is looking back and thinking,
I did it.
I did it.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's so easy to say again, but not that I'm in your situation and I understand at all, this is completely from an outside perspective, but everything is what it is at the end of the day, and it's only worth worrying about something once it's certain.
Once
Do
you
know
have
what
a
I
valid
mean?
reason to actually be
Yeah.
worrying. Like, there's no point spending your time worrying about something that worrying isn't going to change.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. That's what I'm trying to say. Even though we can't help it.
Yeah.
But it's a good thing to rationalise in that way.
Agree. Yeah. Thanks.
That's okay. Well, I hope you're feeling better after that little chat.
Yeah.
And
It always makes me want to cry when you say, because I've seen you say it before, like, there's a version of you that gets through this. I don't know why, but that one sentence just always makes me want to sob.
Oh.
It's just so sweet. Like, it's so nice, because it's also
Yeah.
so true. Like, you have gotten through every single thing you've ever been through.
Ever.
And there is a future version of you that will also get through this. But I don't know why. Just like, that's like one thing that just makes me want to start weeping.
I feel like it just hits home so much because there's so many things that you can say that don't actually help. Do you know what I mean? Like, I could be really, really upset or really worrying about something, and then someone could be like, well, don't worry.
You're going to be fine.
Yeah. And you're like, thank you, but that's not going to change how I feel right now. But just accepting that you feel this way and accepting that there is a future version of you that's not going to feel this way. It's just a nice thing to remember.
Yeah, agree.
Yeah. Aww.
Nice. Well, let's move on to...
No, carry on. I'm just...
Oh, I thought something was wrong.
No,
If you're not watching this, Josie just like lifted up her finger and I was like, yeah.
What?
Why did you do that?
I don't know. I was like, oh, good idea. Just kind of acknowledging that was a good
Finger up to acknowledge.
segue.
Yeah, we're going to talk about something that has been on our minds this week as we go into December.
Is it the 1st of December today?
It's the 1st of December.
It's the 1st
when
of
this is being
December.
posted. We are obviously recording this a few days before.
I put my Christmas tree up halfway through November.
You're so dedicated to Christmas.
I'm so excited.
And I absolutely love it.
I'm really in the Christmas spirit this year.
Your Christmas tree is stunning and it's
Thank
huge
you.
and I love it.
Thank you.
And it's making me want to go home and put my Christmas tree up right now.
It's a crime that you haven't yet.
Well, actually, this will be going up on December 1st and that's usually the day that I put my Christmas tree up. So
I'm
Take
going to
that
be
back.
waiting for some pictures. Please.
I'll be like time-lapsing myself decorating it for you.
I need to see.
But on the Christmas note, we wanted to kick off December by talking about, and well, hopefully covering some of your worries around Christmas anxieties, worries around the festive period, around all of the socialising, all of the different things that come with Christmas that can make people anxious, to hopefully just give you a bit of ease.
And bring you some peace.
Yes, that's what I'm trying to
And-
say.
Yeah, and just make you feel a little bit less scared of what might happen over the next few weeks.
Yeah, because Christmas is a very big and stressful and busy time for a lot of people, and I think people can feel really, really bad for the fact that they struggle with it. But when you are struggling with your mental health, or you're struggling with anxiety or eating or anything like that, Christmas can feel incredibly stressful, and I just want to acknowledge that and be like, yeah, that's okay, but we do want to also help you get through it so you can hopefully get some enjoyment out of the festive period if you celebrate, obviously.
Yeah, and like you were saying, Christmas is perceived as this big, happy, exciting month of just like pure celebrations and seeing people every week and parties and I don't even know how many things. To be honest, I don't have any Christmas plans yet, but I'm sure that will change. But yeah, it's just seen as this big month of happiness, and the fact that you don't feel happiness around it is not something to be ashamed of. It's a perfectly normal feeling. I've been through that. I'm sure you've been through that.
Yeah, I used to struggle with Christmas so much because there's the change in food. I'd be seeing family members that I hadn't seen in ages. I knew that I was going to have to interact with a lot of people, like wearing different clothes, because if you have a Christmas party, you might want to wear a dress, and if you're worried about your body, like there's all these worries that surround Christmas, and the very start of December, it can just feel like it's looming over you. So we thought today we were just going to touch on some of that. At the end, we're also going to answer a couple of your questions. So
Shall we jump into it?
let's jump in.
What are we jumping into?
Shall we start with talking about coping with changes around food at Christmas?
I think that's a good idea.
I feel like this is something we've both dealt with.
Yeah, I mean, especially just the colder weather in general comes with a lot more nights in, a lot more cozy vibes, I want to say. A lot more hot chocolates. We just had a hot chocolate.
We did just have a hot
It was
chocolate and it was
delicious.
so good.
It was a delicious hot chocolate. But it comes around with a lot more spontaneity. Is that how you say it?
Yeah.
Spontaneity. That feels like a big word.
Spontaneity.
It does though, and
Well
it's thank you. And it's in the past it's something that I would say no to, and I wish I didn't, because the spontaneity of grabbing a hot chocolate, or I don't know, going for say Winter Wonderland and you want to grab some churros, or
I've never been to Winter Wonderland.
I haven't. It wasn't a good time. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh. I've heard that it's very expensive.
It is expensive.
But anyway, maybe you want the expensive
Sorry.
churros, and that's okay.
They are worth it. But it's knowing that Christmas comes with all of these changes in food and these new foods that you wouldn't normally have, and it's okay to get excited about them, and it's okay to want them, and it's okay to say yes to them, because you're allowed to enjoy food as more than just food. You're allowed to enjoy food as an experience and as a social element.
And a seasonal festive thing, like
Yeah.
embracing all the foods that come with the celebration is just such a lovely thing to be able to do. But I also, it is also totally fine if you are in a place where that makes you anxious. But there's just a few things that I think are important to remember. One of them being nobody else is judging you for what you are eating at Christmas. You might be spending time with people that know that you've struggled with food, or like maybe are very conscious around health and food, and they may make comments about what you're eating. Like everyone has that aunt or that family member that's going to be like, oh, you've got a big portion, something like that. Like that is something that a lot of people will be worried about. You just have to remember that you are eating for you. Your body needs what your body needs. You eat what you want to eat. Don't be missing out or having worries and anxiety around Christmas because of other people's opinions. I know that's not the be all and end all, and that's not the only reason that people get worried, but if anyone else is making comments around what you're eating at Christmas, literally doesn't matter what they think, because you just need to eat what you want, what you know is going to make you happy. I mean, there's a lot of things that make people anxious around Christmas and food, but also what you just said about it being more of kind of like a cozy time, it's also more of a restful time. And I think that's a good point, because it's okay to be resting and to be chilling and also to be eating more than you might in other months. Like, you do not need to feel guilt for the fact you're resting and eating more.
Yes. And I also wanted to touch on the fact that other people making comments on what you're eating, or whether you are, I don't know, spending 5 days a week watching Christmas movies and you're not getting out of the house as much. If they comment on your decisions, I just think it's quite sad that they've been living in this world of diet culture for so long. And it can actually be a nice way to educate people that that's not a way that you have to live. I can think about older people in my family that have spent their whole lives reading these magazines and, I don't know, jumping on every diet trend that they've ever seen and wholeheartedly believing that that's how they should be living. And it's just quite sad to look at that. And from a place now that I know that I'm out of that mindset and I know what's on the other side of that mindset and how happy you can actually be around food and around resting and around, I don't know, just listening to your body, I'm so appreciative that I'm out of this place, and looking at other people making a comment on my choices, I just see it as quite sad that they're still stuck in that. And
To even be caring and focused on portion sizes or things like that, or to even be like really thinking about other people's, it just shows a kind of unhappiness and a kind of level of care about food that is sort of, it just is innately negative. Like, there's
yeah,
no way that commenting on someone else's portion size in a not kind of helpful way. You know, if you were noticing that somebody wasn't eating enough and you were saying, oh, maybe you should have a bit more on your plate, obviously that's different. But when people are like, oh, you're eating a lot, sort of thing, all of that just comes from a negative relationship with food. And I think you just have to keep that in mind, that anyone that is saying those things to you, it's not coming from a healthy place with them. But also, like, if you are resting more and you are chilling more and you are relaxing more, that does not mean that in the new year you have to jump on some
oh yeah,
crazy exercise plan. Like, you really do not need to change anything. Bodies level out, bodies figure it out. Bodies also, I like to sometimes think of animals that hibernate and the fact that in the winter it's okay to store up and
yeah.
to snuggle down and have some food and do nothing after it. Like, it's so okay.
I can't function in the cold. I physically can't.
Yeah.
So it's okay to just, yeah, like you said, just chill, wind down, relax, sit on the sofa, and just take some time to refresh and reset. And yeah,
It can be stressful that there is so much different food about, and it can be stressful if you have struggled with food in the past, but just because a lot of the Christmas foods are seen as like treaty doesn't mean that you have to restrict them or that you can't eat them and enjoy them. Like, Christmas comes once a year,
yeah.
make the most of it, eat what you want to eat, and know that you do not have to compensate afterwards. You don't have to change anything about your routine to fit in the foods that you want to eat.
I just take it from this perspective. If I'm looking back right now on 23, the last 20, I'm going to say 20 years of my life because I probably won't remember the first three. Definitely don't remember the first three. I'm looking back on the last 20 years of my life. I'm going to remember every Christmas as a time that I enjoyed and a time that I joined in and a time that I said yes to all of the foods, to all of the activities that felt right to me. And I'm not going to look back and remember the time that I said no to that mince pie. I don't like mince pies. I don't.
I don't know why I was so shocked at that. Like, they're quite a controversial thing, but
Yeah.
I quite enjoyed them.
You can have my mince pie.
Thanks.
But I can't remember the time, or I don't want to remember the time where I said no, I don't know, to that selection box. That's going to be really sad to look back and think that I missed out on all of that. I'm going to want to remember the time where we all sat around the table and passed around the Yorkshire puddings, and everyone just laughed and bonded over food. Food doesn't have to be this negative, and you're not a better person for saying no.
No, I
Like,
think there's that like feeling that if you turn things down, you're going to be
yeah,
being good, and it's like, no,
just forget
no.
it. Forget it.
Honestly, the best thing you can do for yourself is say yes when you want to say yes, and eat the things that you want to eat.
Yeah.
Um,
Because you'll just regret it. And
yeah,
I say this a lot, it's easier said than done, because it is. And I like being quite confrontational about it and quite harsh, because it's the easiest way for me anyway to let it sink in. And to hear someone say to me, just say yes when you want to say yes, and you will regret it if you miss out on all of these things, it's a good thing to hear, because it will come and go in phases, and you can take it step by step, and you can take it year by year. And if the first year it doesn't feel that easy for you, you're okay to join in when you really do feel comfortable, and you're okay to step that up as the days go along and as the years go along. And no matter how long it takes, there's no right journey, there's no set timeline on how long it should take, but as long as you know you're making that small step of progress, that's all that matters. You don't have to
yeah.
jump into it head first and scare yourself out of it. That's not what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, because that's the other thing. Don't feel guilty if you are in a place where you're struggling this Christmas. Like, you are going to have so many more Christmases. Obviously, you should make the most of it if you can. But if you are in a place this Christmas where you are struggling, maybe you're anxious, maybe there's stuff going on in your life, maybe you're struggling with food, maybe you're in early recovery from an eating disorder, any of those things or other things, the pressure that we put on ourselves to have the perfect Christmas just makes it miserable. There is literally no pressure. This is just another month. Somebody just decided at some point that Christmas Day, well, okay, that's getting into like religious stuff. Jesus' birthday is like the decider, but you know, whatever you believe, someone decided at some point that the month of December was the Christmas month. I could have just decided that we were going to do Christmas in March.
Yeah.
But why are you putting the pressure on yourself? It's just, do you know what I mean? It's just another month.
And the fact that it's been extended to the whole month.
Mm.
Like, it's 30 days that we're now celebrating, and that we're now having, I don't know, different occasions on, and we're trying to fit so much into these 30 days, and trying to see every member of our family and every single friend, and getting gifts at everyone, and it's just a lot. It is a lot.
Because also, how often do you have 30 days in a month where you have a great day every single day and you make the most of every day? It just isn't really a thing you think about for the rest of the year. But when it comes to December, it's like, oh my God, I need to be making the most of every single festive day that I have. But time is just a concept at the end of the day. Someone's just decided that this is a festive month. And if you are struggling with that, then just don't put the pressure on yourself. Try and have as nice a time as possible, but it's going to come around every year, and you will have plenty more opportunities to enjoy Christmas if this isn't a Christmas that you can enjoy. So if that's an anxiety, it doesn't need to be.
I like that. I like that we're going to decide to not put the pressure on ourselves this year. Me too, because even though, I don't know, we've had such a lovely time decorating and putting up the tree, we still have bad days. And I speak about this a lot as well. It's, don't let one bad day ruin your whole month. Just because you have one day this Christmas where you feel like everything's gone wrong and you've completely fallen off the route of your growth or recovery, it's not a linear journey. Just because you've taken one step back doesn't mean it's all over. Doesn't mean that the whole month is now ruined and you can't enjoy another day. Just take it day by day. And if you can't take it day by day,
take it
hour
by hour. I was going to say minute by minute.
Can't take it hour by hour?
Take it minute by minute.
Yeah.
That was really confusing, sorry.
I just expected you to know what I was saying then.
I got scared. Yeah, no, I feel like there it's very natural when you've struggled to have worries about the change in food and the change in food routines as well at Christmas, but it's just about remembering the fact that it's just another month, and there doesn't need to be the pressure on yourself. I do it with my birthday as well, where I'm like, oh my God, this has to be the best day of the year ever because this is my birthday and I'm only getting one 22nd birthday. Like, I put so much pressure on it, and then I'm so hyper aware of when things don't feel absolutely perfect that I end up not having as good a time as I could.
I find that so funny because who, I know birthdays is your birthday because it's the day you were born on, but why can't it be your 22nd and one day birthday? Why can't you celebrate? Do you know what I mean?
It
Just
is
celebrate
weird.
it every day.
Do you know what I also get freaked out about is the fact that, like, your 22nd birthday is actually that you've been alive for 22 entire years.
Yeah.
That's not the start of your
Yeah.
22nd year. I'm like, ew. So I'm, like, technically in my 23rd year right now.
Yeah. And also, you could have been born on any single day. So this is getting really deep and really off tangent. I'm just going to allow like the inner workings of my brain right now. But say, I don't know, you were 2 weeks overdue.
Yeah.
You're technically
Which I
this.
was. No, I wasn't. I was 2 days. Sorry.
Okay, so technically you could have been 2 days younger. No.
Yeah.
2 days older.
Yeah. Yeah.
So say I was 2 weeks overdue, I would actually be 2 weeks older than I am, but
But you were
I'm
still
not.
alive. You were still alive in the womb.
Yeah. But it's from the day you were born, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I feel like in other countries you celebrate your birthday from when you were conceived. This is getting really
Who?
off.
What? Do people do that?
I'm pretty sure they do.
Who?
I don't know. We
They'd
need
have to be
fact check
writing
this.
down the date of...
Moving on.
Okay.
Moving on. Okay, now you've heard the inner workings of my brain.
Whether you want to do or not.
Tough. I think it's a good time to segue into seasonal sadness and the changing of weather and the changing of seasons and getting colder and darker. And I've seen a lot of people talk about this, which I really like because it affects me a lot. And it feels like I'm doing something wrong by struggling so much and struggling with the darkness and the cold. And like, we're not meant to struggle, like, we're just meant to carry on as everything's normal. But I can't.
Yeah, and actually it's very normal, and I think that it's nice that so many people have been talking about it this year because seasonal affective disorder or seasonal depression or whatever, it is a real thing. And I'm so incredibly affected by light, and I don't know why, but even on certain days where it's just like there's this one specific type of weather where the sky is like, you know, when the sky is completely grey and there's just no clouds,
Yeah.
it's all just grey. I dissociate so much in that kind of weather, and it's like the light can just affect me so much. So the fact that people are actually acknowledging that actually the sun setting so early can make us more sad because people are really affected by natural light and daylight and darkness. It's just really nice. I feel seen, I feel heard.
Yeah, it's really reassuring that we're not alone in that because the past few years I would wonder why I felt so just off, and I'd wake up and I'd instantly just be in a bad mood. And it's nice that other people feel the same. And it's difficult to, I don't know, it's difficult to adapt to that because we can't just make more sunlight. We can't just change things or get out of that situation. It's something that you have to live through.
There are ways. I would say I still struggle kind of regardless, but
Yeah.
I find I mentioned this, I think last episode, about my sunrise lamp that I use. That really helps me get up in the mornings when it's really dark. It helps my body kind of adjust to waking up in the dark. Also, you can get lamps that imitate sunlight.
I've seen those.
I actually have one, but I haven't set it up yet, so can't tell you how I feel about that. Taking vitamin D,
Yeah.
or actually just getting outside in the day while it is still light. But that's so hard when people work a 9 to 5 and they're going to work in the dark and leaving in the dark. Like, where is your opportunity for natural light and for your body to understand that there's sort of like a sunrise and a sunset? Like, I think it must be so difficult. Say you work in like, I don't know, a big shopping centre and there's no windows.
Yeah.
You literally have no idea what time of day it is, and I feel like that will really affect your body clock and just then your sleep, and then that knocks onto everything. So I feel like the little things that you can do are all quite physical, like vitamin D, getting outside, gentle movement, very helpful for getting endorphins, but also resting. If you are someone that like has a habit of doing a lot of movement, maybe resting more would be helpful, because in the colder months you do need to sort of hunker down a bit.
I was going to say, I just feel more generally tired, just generally drained. And like we've said a million times, rest in this period is so important. To just acknowledge that with your body and just say, look, I'm slowing down, the days are shorter, it's less time to do everything, it's okay to take it slower. And getting outside is definitely something that I need to do more, and that helps me so much. We went for a walk earlier and it just made us so happy just to get some fresh air. And even though it's cold, it's nice and crisp and fresh. And it being so warm and stuff inside, like if you have heating on, I'm very grateful that we have heating on, but it can be so stuffy inside. So it's really nice to get that fresh air and to feel the cold and to just breathe in oxygen. I sound like I'm giving a really good pep talk there, but getting outside...
Go breathe in that oxygen.
Go breathe in the oxygen. But getting outside really helps me so much. And every time I go outside, I'm like, wow, I feel so much better. And then I don't do it again.
And then you forget that that's the thing that makes you feel good.
Yeah.
Although also sometimes with depression or just feeling lower in general, it's so hard to do the things that make you feel good. Like I when I was quite depressed, there was all these things that people were like, this will help your depression, and I'd be like, I don't think you understand, like I can't move. And so it is easy to be like, get up, go move, go outside, but when you're depressed, it's like I can't move my body, I feel like someone sat on my chest. And I think that can also be difficult. So even if it's taking really small steps, like if you're struggling to the point where you're like lying in bed every day, say, open your curtains.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Open a window.
Yeah, get changed if you can manage to get changed. Or stand, if you have a garden or a balcony, stand out in the sunlight, but, you know, maybe not to the point where you have to get changed and go out and see people. Like, take small steps, do things that work for you. And also just know that you're not alone in struggling in the winter months. It's actually quite normal, and I've felt that this year because a lot of people have been talking about it. So yeah
Just opening up to people and letting them know that you're struggling, and letting them know that sometimes you won't attend the plans, and it's okay to say no to all these Christmas plans, because you're allowed to not want to join in as well. You're allowed to say no. Say there's 10 Christmas parties you've been invited to. You're not doing anything wrong, and you're not necessarily missing out, and you're not upsetting anyone by taking a step back and thinking, okay, no, I've done a lot this month, I'm feeling really tired, I'm deciding to sit out of this one, you go have fun, I'm okay where I am right now.
Yeah.
And I think that leads into the kind of change in plans and the change
in routine.
That
Can be
comes
really stressful.
Yeah, that comes with the Christmas season and the winter months, and there's just a lot going on. There is a lot going on.
It can be super overwhelming, especially if you're someone who is quite rigid with their routine or really relies on routine to keep them functioning. Like, I know because of my ADHD, I really struggle to make a routine. And so when I have one and then that gets broken, it can make everything feel chaotic. And I'm sure that's not just ADHD. I'm sure other people struggle with that too. But Christmas is something that, whether you're in school, whether you're in work, whatever it is going to disrupt your routine, because like you said, there's parties, there's events, there's, you know, days off over Christmas, and then you've got New Year. It is going to be a change in routine, and I think coping with that, it can feel really difficult, but if you can try and keep as much of your original structure as possible, that can be really helpful, whether you're neurodivergent or not. Like, I do think that when you're an anxious person or you're struggling with the winter months, keeping your routine is essential.
And yeah, I guess to sum that up, I would say, should we give kind of 3 points of advice? I'm saying 3 really optimistically.
Okay.
I have 1. And
So I've got to give the other 2.
You've got to give 2. No pressure. Number 1, I'm going to say set and respect your boundaries this season.
I like that.
So if your boundary is 1 event a week, you're allowed to stick to that, and you're allowed to say no. Your boundary could also be leaving conversations that you feel uncomfortable in, and that can be around family members that you haven't seen in ages or friends that you haven't seen in ages. It's okay to leave those conversations where people are saying, have you got a job yet? What do you want to do with the rest of your life?
When are you having kids? When are you going to find a partner?
It's okay to just leave those conversations and set your boundary and stay true to yourself. That's going to be my number 1. Do you have number 2?
Well, I hope so, because there's no other option. I would say if you are off school or off work during that time, making sure you keep a consistent morning alarm and nighttime routine if you can.
I like that.
I think it's really helpful for your body to sort of have a sleep routine, but also for you to know what time you're getting up each day, because I struggle when I am able to just get up at like 10 a.m. because then I just feel like I'm rotting for my whole day. And obviously, I'm big on rest. Like, I think rest is very important, but I feel less rested when I don't get up and do my self-care, because I end up lying there feeling really guilty for the fact that I'm lying there, and I end up in this spiral. So if you are able to get up and do something restful, do something nice for yourself, but something chill, and just keep that kind of routine, I think that's really good. And also, another thing is, I'd say kind of contrasts. Why can't I say that word? Contrasting.
Yeah. Is this point number
Your
3?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I whipped 2 out there.
I'm proud of you.
Thanks. Well,
Because I can
I
think of
was
one.
under pressure. My third one would be, yeah, in contrast to your first point, just knowing that it's okay if you don't get invited to things. Like, if you don't have loads of events to go to, if you don't have lots of friends to see, if you want to stay home and you want to stay cuddled up on the sofa and you don't want to see loads of people, just knowing that that's totally fine. It's so okay to be a homebody. We are both homebodies. We both like staying in. We both are big fans of people cancelling plans.
Yeah.
No, that sounds bad, but
No.
I do, I'm the level of introvert where I'm like, I'm really not going to be upset if you cancel a plan on me, because it
Yeah.
means that I get to stay inside my house.
Yeah, not in an offensive way, just in an introvert way.
Yeah. But yeah, just knowing that if people are posting on social media and they have all these amazing Christmas parties and they're going to events or they're seeing all their friends, and if you don't have that, that's so okay. You are totally not alone. It's just that the people that don't have that aren't posting about it.
Exactly, and it's always important to remember that social media is a highlight reel, and people are only posting pictures showing that they're having the best time and showing them with all of their friends because they want to share the positive. No one's going to share a picture of them, I don't know, on the train home, not feeling too good, or, I don't know.
Sat in their room by themselves,
Yeah.
eating a mince pie.
Or having an argument with, I don't know, their family over cooking the chicken wrong. No one's going to post that stuff. No one's going to share the negatives. They all want to portray this picture of this perfect life because that's what social media is, unfortunately.
But that is also understandable, because how often do you even document the things that, we don't really lean to documenting lonely moments or moments we feel sad. And I think that's what you need to remember. Like, where you are right now, is this something that you would post about? If not, you're probably not seeing other people post about it, even though it's happening, because they feel the same as you, because they feel that, like, well, I don't really want to share that I'm feeling lonely, or I don't want to share that I have no plans. It doesn't mean that it's not happening. It just means that people aren't posting about it.
I really like that point. That if you're acknowledging that this is a moment that you don't want to share, other people aren't sharing that as well. So you're never alone.
Yeah.
Never.
Yeah.
Never.
So, as always, we are going to answer a couple of your questions as we bring the episode to a...
We want to know what's been on your mind this week. And on the topic of Christmas and the seasons changing, we have got a few questions from you, and we know what you've been thinking about, and you've told us what's on your mind. So we're gonna talk about that.
We know what's on your mind.
We can read your mind.
We're in your walls.
No, we can't. We're just in your ears. We're not in your walls.
I'm sorry, I had to make it weird. It's just the thing I do. Anyway, first question is...
What are some tips for staying calm when there is so much happening around you?
Okay, I feel this one because I have really had to find ways to cope. As someone who gets overstimulated, as someone who gets easily overwhelmed and has had to go to more events and parties and stuff in recent years, I feel like I can speak on this. Number one, knowing that it's so okay if you have to leave early or have to step outside or have to have a breather. There's nothing embarrassing about getting overwhelmed and feeling anxious and needing a moment. If you need to go to the toilet, if you need to step outside, if you need to leave altogether because you are overwhelmed, you are well within your rights to do that. And I know sometimes it's not social etiquette to just get up and leave, but I think it's really important when you're an anxious person to know that you're not trapped. Just because you're in a social situation where people might think something of you leaving quite early on that doesn't mean that you are stuck there. You are so allowed to leave. You can get out, you can go. And I know that events and parties can be really overwhelming because there's so much happening. But if you just have to say, "Oh, I'm feeling really sick, sorry, I've got to go home," that's what you have to do, and you are allowed to do that. You are not stuck. You can go. Do you have any tips?
No.
Didn't really give you a second there. I just went blah, 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 blah. Tips.
Tips on staying calm when there's so much happening around you. I just really like to ground myself.
Yeah.
I like to take a minute to just understand where I am, understand who's around me, understand that I'm living in this moment right now. I'm not living in the 3 plans that I have next week. That's future me's problem, and I will deal with that when I get to that point. I just have to take it day by day and plan by plan. And if you get through 3 of your plans and you think, actually, I'm not up to going to this 4th one, I'm a little bit drained from these last 3, that's completely fine. Like, you don't have to say no in advance as well. You can cancel. That's completely fine. If you're waking up and you just feel generally tired, and in that moment on that day you don't feel up to it, that's okay.
I needed
It's
to hear that. I feel so much
bad.
anxiety when I have to cancel stuff.
I know.
And I feel like nobody ever says it's okay because I know that it can be rude. Like, I know that people see it as rude if you cancel on them last minute, but as an anxious person, sometimes I might just be having a panic attack and I just can't go.
Exactly. And in that moment, if you know you're not in the right place, you have to put yourself first. I like to think about it as the quote, be where your feet are. Don't be where your head is. Don't be thinking about the future. Just be where your feet are and acknowledge how you truly feel in that moment. And yeah, just take it step by step.
Another thing, which maybe won't work for everyone, but scheduling in time in your calendar where you are going to have alone time, where you are going to literally dedicate an afternoon or an evening to just do self-care or just be by yourself, because it can become really overwhelming when you're surrounded by people constantly and you feel like you don't have any time for yourself. So if you need to block out an evening where you're like not seeing anyone, not doing anything, not going for dinner, I'm not doing anything, I'm just going to sit in my house by myself or with my dog or with my family, and I'm going to watch Netflix and I'm going to have a hot chocolate and I'm going to go to bed at 9 p.m. and it's going to be great. Like, if you need to do that, do that. Obviously, some people might not find that relaxing because some people don't like their own company, but I like to just be alone and just chill sometimes. So I feel like maybe that could be a helpful thing to sort of break up the craziness of the Christmas period.
I really like that. As someone that struggles to rest as well, having it scheduled in as if it's work or as if it's an event is really helpful, because it's resting guilt free. And if you're resting when you think you should be somewhere else, you can feel that underlying guilt. And even if it's subconscious, you can just feel like you're doing something wrong when you're not. So scheduling in that time and saying, this is when I'm slowing down and this is when I'm actually stopping everything, can be really helpful. Because if you're resting whilst feeling guilty, you're not actually resting, and you won't feel rested at the end of it. You'll feel probably even more drained. So yeah, resting guilt free,
Yeah,
I feel like is a good one.
nice. I feel like that was
Yeah,
helpful.
hopefully.
A few helpful tips from us there.
Yeah, we have some good ones somewhere.
Got them up our sleeves.
Should we move on to the next one?
Yeah, what was the last question?
Um,
So the last question was how to say no to plans without feeling guilty. And I feel like you touched on this a bit earlier, so maybe you want to start this one off?
yeah, I mean, firstly, I want to say guilt is a very normal feeling. Everyone's going to feel that. You're going to feel like you're letting someone down. But the truth of the matter is the only person you will be letting down by saying yes to something when you don't want to say yes is yourself. You will be letting down yourself if you go to something that you know you don't want to go to. And the whole time you're there, you'll be wishing you were at home. And that's not fair on the people that you're around, because you're not going to be present and you're not going to be the best version of yourself, and you're not going to be your true self because you know that you're uncomfortable. So it's about respecting that boundary again and realizing that it is okay to say no, and saying no does not make you a bad person. Saying no is not rude to the person that's invited you or to the person that's holding the event. It's just accepting that you need to be somewhere else right now. And people will actually respect you a lot, I think, for saying no, and people will respect that you're very open and honest about how you're feeling, and that you can rearrange that time with them. You can say to them, okay, I don't want to come to this party where there's 50 people, but I would like to meet you one-on-one for lunch and just speak us two one-on-one when it's a little bit less overwhelming for me. And people will understand that that's a genuine feeling from inside, and that you still care about that person a lot. It's just the situation is just not for you. And that's okay.
I think also, if you have to do things like that, just not telling yourself that it's because there's something broken about you, or so that you're weird or you're doing something wrong. Like, not everyone is built for these big events and socializing, and some people are just anxious, and that is not your fault. That is not a failure. Like, if you have to, or if you would enjoy it more one-on-one, or you and like two of your friends having a chilled meal or a little Christmassy catch up, like, that is so okay. Some of us are just built for quieter lives, to be quieter people, and you're not broken because you're not enjoying the nightlife and the parties and everything. Like, both of us would so much rather hang out together than like go to a party together.
Oh, yeah. See, if we're going to talk to each other anyway, what's the point of being around 50 other people?
Well,
that sounds really harsh.
I feel like the parties are like, you're meant to interact with other people, but
See, that's how I know I don't belong in those situations.
we just stand in a corner and look at people.
Do we?
No, okay, that sounds weird. Whenever I go
Just
to
watch.
events, I'm always like just sort of stood there, like, I know that I need to go and interact with people, but I can't bring myself to do it. And I know I worded that very weirdly, but I know
Just
that you
look
know
at
what I
people.
mean.
No, I know what you mean. It's more in a sense of we just kind of talk to each other knowing that we should be speaking to other people, but we just can't break that mental barrier.
I find it so hard to start conversations.
Oh,
I find
yeah.
it horrible going up to people. Like, how do you what's a normal way to start a conversation?
Why are you looking at me?
Somebody here, can you tell me,
Please,
like,
in the
how
comments.
when I go to Christmas parties this year, how do I start conversations? No, I actually really struggle with it. I feel like I need. Oh,
I'm putting my hand
she's
up
put her
again.
finger up again.
A good way to start a conversation is by giving a compliment.
Yes, actually, that. Yes,
Yeah.
that is something that I have learned in life.
Yeah.
And it actually makes you feel really nice.
Yeah.
When you go up to someone, you're like, "Oh my god, I love your dress," and then they're like, "I love yours too," and then you're like, "How are you?"
Exactly. It's a good segue in because it's a moment of kindness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh no, I like that. Okay, everyone be giving compliments this Christmas, and you'll be great.
You will. You'll be okay.
You're gonna be fine.
Gonna be just fine.
We have gone a bit rogue, I feel.
We've gone on a few little tangents here. But how should we sum up this episode?
I feel like just remember that December is just another month, and you really don't need to be putting pressure on yourself. It's okay to struggle. It's okay to not struggle. It's okay to enjoy all the food you want and feel no guilt for it. It's also okay if this year is a year that you're struggling, and maybe next year can be a better Christmas for you. There is no pressure, there are no rules, and we love you and want you to look after yourself.
I think that's a really wholesome way to end this episode. And I feel like we've given quite a few reminders that are hopefully helpful for you and hopefully help you navigate the Christmas period and be a little gentler with yourself.
Yeah. Because you deserve to be, and you deserve to be nice to yourself.
You do, and you deserve happiness, and you deserve to respect your boundaries. And if you want to stay on the sofa all Christmas, that's perfectly okay, because I know that's probably what I'm going to be doing.
Do you know what I thought you were going to do then? I thought you were going to segue that into, like, if you want to stay on the sofa with us, like and subscribe.
I mean, you're more than welcome.
And I was like, that was so smooth. If you want to stay sat in the comfort zone with us, like and follow on Spotify. I mean, yeah, actually do.
Yeah, please do.
But also, no pressure, but also do.
No, but also we would love to have you here, and we'd love to go on this journey with you, because we have some more episodes coming up that are really, really good, and I'm just excited.
Just an open chats and hopefully helping you guys. Let us know what you thought, as always, in the comments, and if you have any episodes that you'd like us to do, or questions or anything, leave a comment down below. And yeah, we appreciate every single follow, every single like,
We
every
do.
single 5-star review. Nothing lower than 5 stars, please. No, I'm kidding. Well, actually, no, I'm not. Please, can you please support us?
Please.
But yeah, we love you, and we will see you next Sunday as always.
Next Sunday. We can't wait to welcome you back to the comfort zone. Have a good evening and have a good rest of your week, and we'll see you soon.
Love you. Bye.
Bye.